Hi, and welcome to Lesson 30 for Junior English, A2C Junior English at the Academy at Shawnee. I'm Mr. Brewer, and this will be a fairly quick lesson. We have only the 5 days remaining until winter break, and our big assignment due at the end of this week is the final draft for essay number 2, our interview essay, and the smaller assignment is completing Act 1, Scene 2's reading and viewing assignment. That's that Google form. Just to kind of reiterate that, our old assignments are on the left in yellow, our upcoming assignments are on the right in green. We will have no new assignments in the mastery part of the gradebook until January 15th. So at this point, mastery is done, closed, locked. Well, not locked, but you can go back and be working on any of the mastery assignments that we've assigned so far this semester. There will be no new mastery assignments in the gradebook in Infinity Campus between now and January 15th. We've completed both of the essays that we wanted to complete as of this Saturday for the first semester, and we'll be doing 2 new essays in the second semester of this course starting after January 15th. There will be some other small assignments attached to Raisin in the Sun as we go forward, but there's no new mastery assignments, which is good news if you're working to catch up on a backlog of mastery assignments. All right, our learning targets for the lesson today, and as always, you can take a picture of that QR code with your smartphone and get a link through to the document that has all of these recordings and all of the explanations broken up for each assignment as you're going through and trying to knock out stuff to bring your grade up to where you'd like to see it. The writing learning target for today is we're going to review the rubric for essay number 2 and the final steps to upload the final draft to Google Classroom. And this means we can edit our rough draft using feedback and finish up that final draft for essay number 2. For literature, we're going to review the events of Act 1, Scene 2 and discuss them. And this means we can explore the character development, setting, and authorial choices made in Scene 2 of the play. And our informational lesson today is we're going to learn about project-specific language that's being sought for copywriting in a real-world project with 15K. And this means we can potentially write copy for 15K, which is a company that helps give out scholarships, and you can see your copy being used by that company, which is pretty cool. All right, real quick, our week structure. We have a beginning lesson on Mondays and Tuesdays that's recorded on Sundays and posted. I have office hours from 12 to 2 on Wednesdays. There's a link to that meet that goes up live on every Wednesday for anyone who'd like to jump in and get some assistance on outstanding assignments. And then for Thursday and Friday, I have a recorded lesson that I also post on Wednesday afternoon. So if you're ever unable to be in the live class, you can watch these recorded lessons and get an explanation for the assignments that we're doing in class, get walkthroughs, and just kind of hear a slower explanation of all the stuff that we're doing than perhaps in the live class. All right, we'll be doing mindfulness in the live class. We'll be listening to some chill music. Okay, so our writing learning target today is looking at the rubric for essay number 2 and checking the steps to upload the final draft to Google Classroom. The final draft itself will be graded on these 4 rubric axes: purpose and focus, idea development, structure, and language and conventions for grammar. If you're interested in seeing me walk through a high scoring model of the essay number 2, take a picture of this QR code. It will take you to a different YouTube video where we in class walked through a really high scoring version of this essay that a student had created previously. So you can kind of see what a really good version of this essay looks like. They don't incorporate quotes quite as much as I'm asking you guys to, or I'd like to see you guys incorporate more quotes than they do, but they do a really good job of doing an interview essay. So again, if you just take a picture of that with your phone, it'll take you through to an even more detailed breakdown of this specific essay as it applies to this rubric. But if you don't, let's just walk through those 4 parts of the rubric. So the first part is purpose and focus. So the goal of this part of the rubric is you're establishing and maintaining a focus on your audience and purpose, and you're engaging the audience by providing relevant background information necessary to anticipate its needs. This means that you're staying laser focused on the topic of your interview and the college or career that you're interested in interviewing someone about. That's for 4 points, is if you stay laser focused on that topic. and you're providing adequate background information and kind of keeping your audience engaged. 3 points, you drop down into 3 points if you look at the yellow when you're not consistently maintaining the focus, or if you're not completely anticipating audience needs. Now, anticipating audience needs is kind of weaselly and difficult to measure. So for me, when I'm grading, I'm looking to see that you're maintaining your focus on the topic of the essay and not getting off track. So you're going to be getting that 4 points on this as long as you stay on target for what you're writing about, as long as you keep the topic of your essay in mind while you're writing. If you look down to 2, you can get an idea of how you can get off of that 4 a little bit more, where it says irrelevant or inconsistent background information. Again, that's just being off topic. That's not being focused on why you're writing this essay. So making sure that everything in the essay is focused on presenting your audience with the interview that you had or the information that you gathered if you weren't able to get an interview about the college or career that you're interested in. The next part of the rubric is idea development. So this is the 4 consists of you're developing your ideas and you're providing insight, support, and clarification of the topic. Insight, support, and clarification all come from the analysis part of breaking down the quotes. If you watched that short quote incorporation video that we did, or if you were in class while we were talking about incorporating quotes using that 5-step process, if you use that process, you're going to get a 4 for idea development because you're providing insight, support, and clarification for each of your quotes. You're developing ideas using appropriate and effective examples, details, facts, explanations, and descriptions. You will do that if you incorporate your quotes using that structure. And using a variety of techniques or approaches, you may end up using one technique prominently if you're just using that quote incorporation that we walk through in class, but you're still going to be doing everything else at a level 4, so I don't think that's going to drop you down to a 3. It's because to have a 3, you have to have some less successful techniques than others. If you have only one technique, but it's a really good technique, you can still live in that land of a 4 for idea development. So what are you trying to avoid on this part of the rubric? You're trying to avoid minimal or irrelevant examples. You're trying to avoid being off task. You're trying to avoid just presenting a quote without explaining it. You're trying to avoid just presenting information without talking about it. I know it feels redundant when you're writing an essay to say something and then explain why you said it, but that is good essay writing, and that is good writing in general. You make a claim, you say something, and then you explain why you think that. And that's what gets you into that 3 and 4 area of idea development. All right, moving on to structure. Structure is one of those things that if you turned in a rough draft, you've gotten some feedback from me on structure specifically, and I've helped you out a little bit with that. That's like, are you using transition words and phrases that connect your paragraphs together? Are you using appropriate organizational techniques like in this case, reasons and explanations are quotes followed by explanations? And are you doing a logical progression of ideas that flow within in between paragraphs? If you did the outline portion of the writing process, your structure should be fine. There's a clear structure built into that outline with the 4-part thesis followed by 3 support paragraphs followed by a conclusion paragraph. If you're doing that outline, you're going to be getting a 4 or a 3 on this. You might drop down into a 3 even with an outline if your paragraphs are smushed together or you don't have transition words or phrases, but you do have the structure from the outline. So really you should be in that 4 or 3 point area if you did an outline. That's going to save your bacon here. The 2s and the 1s here mean you don't have much organizational structure. There's a little, if any, variety in sentence structure. I think that the danger of not having really complex sentence structures, that if you look at the 2 points for this one, that's the second bullet point. You use varied sentence structures, but these appear alongside mostly simple sentences. I'm only going to use that if you don't have a clear outline structure to grade this. So if you have a lot of simple sentence structures because you really hate writing or you don't read very much and this is a big struggle for you, but you followed the outline, I'm going to still put you in that 3 or 4 zone because you're following that outline and you have that complex structure. All right, language and conventions. If you did a rough draft, you don't have to worry about this one too much because I helped you by editing your rough draft and giving you feedback specifically on language conventions and grammar. Um, I think that that's valuable feedback that I'm giving you on editing that and grammar. And really all you need to do is go through and accept those changes. Now, as you're accepting those changes, be aware that like those are mistakes that you were making in your grammar that I am helping you by pointing out to you. So if you did turn in a rough draft and you got feedback from me on grammar and you accepted all those changes, you should have a 3 or a 4. There may still be a few errors because I'm not perfect, and when I go and I grade your final draft, I might still catch a few new things. So you may still have a few things that bring you into that 3 zone, but you'll definitely be safe from a 1 or a 2 on this. Now, if you did not do a rough draft and you just turned in a final draft that is a rough draft, you're in danger of being in that 1 or 2 zone because there could be frequent errors in grammar usage and mechanics. So I'm not going to grade you harder if you didn't do a rough draft, but I am going to grade you fairly on language and conventions and grammar when you turn in that final draft. Um, Make sure that you also have your peer review form turned in. If you got feedback on your rough drafts, that is an easy 50 points. All right, that's the rubric walk for essay number 2. Again, if you are interested in seeing an essay actually broken down the way that I grade them, that link at the beginning of the rubric walk on that QR code back there will take you through to that. Okay, so we watched Act 1, Scene 2 of A Raisin in the Sun. So now we're going to watch a short video on the events of Act 1, Scene 2. And that video is a Course Hero video, and we'll be watching these as our recaps going forward because they're pretty good. So we'll use this website also at the end of our next scene, Act 2, Scene 1. And we'll be watching that in class, but not in the recorded version. If you want to take a picture of the QR code from the last slide, you can. All right, our informational learning target today is we're going to learn a little bit more about 15K and the language that they want us to be using while we're writing copy. So again, if you want to see your copy used by a real company before graduating high school, which is a big deal if you're going into design or business, you can do that by contacting me, Ms. Whitaker, Ms. Harris, or Mr. McDaniel, and let us know that you're interested in being a part of this project. This is working with a business in the greater Louisville area that does help students get scholarships, and having your name attached to their brand and like this project is a really good thing to add to your resume, as well as something to add to your backpack when you're defending it as a senior. So like, yeah, it's cool that it's a backpack portfolio piece. It's really cool that you can add this to your resume as experience you had writing copy for an actual company before graduating from high school. That looks great on a resume. So basically what we're going to be doing as in this class for this project is we're going to be working in this zone here. We're going to be part of the implementation team for this project. So our job as English students is to write copy for 15K. The business students will be functioning as Scrum Masters. So I don't know if you've ever heard of Scrum, but if you're in business, then this is what Scrum is. The word is wacky, but basically it's this structure where you have people who are helping break down a project into smaller pieces. Like I said, we will be the implementation. So our job in this class, if you're interested in being part of this project, is to write the copy. So what's the copy on? The copy is on the objectives of 15K. So when you're writing copy, you could be writing about any of the things I'm about to discuss. You could be writing about 15K's policy. You could be writing about 15K's partnerships, their programs, their presence, or their operational excellence. Minus the D. So when you're writing about their policy and systems change, you could use language that talks about the history of barriers to academic admission for African American students in Louisville, and you can sell this project as a direct opposition to historical injustice of access. So you're writing about how 15K is breaking down those barriers, or you're writing about how 15K is in response to historical injustice, or you're writing about historical injustice and how 15K is a response. There's lots of different ways that you could frame that. There's lots of different avenues to go in when you're talking about how a group that provides scholarships to African Americans in Louisville is responding to historical injustice. So that's part of the copy that you could be writing about policy and systems change. When it comes to partnerships, you could be emphasizing their partners as avenues of support, and 15K is this hub with many spokes that bring students closer to their goals by removing barriers and providing assistance, building bridges, that kind of thing. So they're looking for you to write copy about their partnerships. They're also looking for you to write copy about their programs and potentially write like plans for programs. So you could be emphasizing the place and time of prior program activities, emphasizing experiences at each activity that's valuable to students. You could be talking about potentially valuable student experiences like hanging out with friends at a 15K event, hanging out, in spaces where there's like low stress, low sales pitch environments for students, like pre-COVID land, basically like neighborhood events, spaces for physical activities or for like resume building activities like community service or service projects that could potentially be hosted by 15K, and maybe some overtly religious or non-religious functions, or spaces for interdenominational meetings too. Basically everything that I'm saying right now is stuff that could go into your copy. Like you could write copy for an imaginary event that 15K runs, and then they could pick up that copy and run with it to make the event. Even if the event hasn't happened yet, writing copy that they could use is part of the work of copywriting. So a copywriter doesn't just sit around all day waiting to be given a job to write copy. You write copy during the time that you're paid to write copy. And then when you get a task, you may already have written that copy. So you spend your time writing copy that could be used. So you could be writing about different 15K events that don't exist but could exist. When it comes to presence and public awareness, writing copy language that specifically works on Facebook, writing copy language and designs that specifically work on Instagram or Twitter or whatever new social media there exists out there that just popped up in the past week. So basically you're writing advertisements for social media platforms. And then this last bit, just like you being involved in this immediately elevates it to something that is more effective and useful for them than just hiring copywriters who are old and have no connection to like student life. Also, it's really useful if you're going to graduate soon, you might consider communicating with 15K and advocating for them to other students after you graduate, like coming back into the building next fall or whenever we are back in the building and kind of speaking to the importance of these scholarships and these grants. All right, so that's some of the copy language that you might be engaging in if you're writing in this project. If you want to do the design part of this project, definitely talk to Ms. Harris. Her design course is really focused on the visuals. I'll be focused on the copywriting aspect of it, and I'll give you guys some more examples of copy and some more specific copywriting goals as we go forward. It's a really great opportunity again, and I'm going to be giving you some extra credit opportunities to be writing that copy kind of starting as we get back from winter break. Just keep an eye out for that, and thank you very much for being present for this video. I hope that we hit our learning targets and that our assessments will come through well, and I'll leave you with the upcoming assignments. Have a good one. Bye.